fellow Antiguans and Barbudans, 35 years ago, a generation of our people chose to assert the independence of our nation from British colonial rule. They did so because they wanted to choose their own national path of economic development and social improvement. Yes, they wanted rules, but rules that they made in fulfillment of their ambitions for themselves and their aspirations for their children and their grandchildren. But they knew that while independence gave freedom, it was not entirely free. Independence is not partisan. It is a precious gift to be preserved, to be respected and protected by all, notwithstanding any differences. It can be swiftly strangled. That is why we should never take our nation's independence for granted. That is why my government is seeking to make our country an economic powerhouse to preserve our independence. Building an economic powerhouse is not a political slogan. It is the defense of our nation's independence and the safeguard of freedom for each of us. Those who scoff at our resolve to build our country into an economic powerhouse fail to recognize that unless we make our economy strong, we expose ourselves to a process by which our country becomes so dependent on external intervention that we are returned to a condition of dependency. Those who mock the idea of making ourselves into an economic powerhouse also deny the capacity of our people to rise, to become owners and entrepreneurs, and to compete globally. But unless we build a powerful economy, unless we empower all of our people, especially the working class, to include the poor and the vulnerable, the independence that we take for granted will be plucked from us. Building an economic powerhouse in Antigua and Barbuda was never a campaign slogan. When my political party declared it in opposition, it was our most fervent ambition and vision for our nation. Today, in government, it provides a unity of direction and the driving force for all that we do. It is how the economy can be transformed into sustaining this generation and generations of the future. This vision is fully inclusive, with God at its epicenter. It recognizes not just the desirability, but the importance of including every single person in our growth and development. I'm painfully aware that the current plague of water shortages makes some doubt that we can ever be an economic powerhouse. I understand the fear that if we can't fix the water problems, how can we aspire to transform our economy and strengthen our independence? But I recall Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18, which states, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." The water problems we suffer today are the consequence of 10 years of visionless government. The problems have been in place for years, neglected and unattended by incompetent leadership. My government inherited the problem as part of an array of troubling issues that now bedevil our nation. We inherited a dilapidated physical infrastructure, to include the utilities infrastructure, which is being expanded and repaired. There has been a water capacity problem for many years, which was exacerbated by a protracted drought. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix, no off-the-shelf solution to the problem. It takes about a year to manufacture, to ship, and commission a new reverse osmosis plant. That is the reality. But I assure you that no stone is being left unturned. The work is being done. Earlier this year, we installed an RO plant in English Harbor, which is providing potable water for residents on a sustainable basis and has salvaged our yachting industry from total destruction. Today, I am pleased to report that the equipment for the construction of an additional new RO plant have begun to arrive. The setting up and commissioning of the new plant is expected to be completed by January of 2017. This plant will produce an additional 2 million gallons of water per day, which will resolve the water shortage. Additionally, we have decided to install a third RO plant next year. This will bring our aggregate investment in the water infrastructure, including the clearance of the $22 million owed to Sembcorp, to approximately $45 million in 2 years. The third RO plant will be utilized to ensure water sustainability for farmers in the Bethesda area and beyond. The inherited decay also applies to all sectors, including health and education, and to our vital infrastructure, particularly our vital tourism plant. My government has intervened in all sectors to resolve the problems confronting them. I do not tell you any of this to try to escape my obligation as your Prime Minister, to deal with these problems and to deal with them effectively. I explain the legacy of the previous government simply to give you insights into the enormity of the problems they left and to provide you with a benchmark from which to assess our government's performance. We have fixed many of them, including the stabilization of the economy and the banking sector. But other problems, including our debt overhang, are so deep and in such a collapsed state with extremely limited financial resources, resolving them will take time. It was virtually impossible to resolve all of these problems within 2 years. However, the necessary work has started. All of these issues, including arrears and our debts, are being addressed, and we are making significant progress. We're installing $100 million in green energy electricity generating capacity to ensure energy sustainability and climate resilience. Similarly, we have invested additional resources in agricultural production to improve food security. Unlike our predecessor government, we have not neglected these vital matters. We now have in place the proper and sustainable roadmap, and we will continue to work assiduously to resolve these problems. But it will require time and money, the latter of which is of great use, of which the former government did not leave 1 red cent. Not only was the treasury empty from the first day that we took office, the debts the former government ran up were and still are suffocating the country. It required enormous skill and creativity to clear the arrears and to service the nation's debts in order to maintain a semblance of creditworthiness in the international marketplace. All of that has helped to maintain our nation's independence and save us from becoming servile to creditors. Slowly but surely, we are continuing to keep alive the noble and worthy vision of building our country into an economic powerhouse. And let me give you a few examples. The visionless government of the decade between 2004 and 2014 put more than 10,000 people out of work. Let us not forget the resulting repossessions and foreclosures of property and the collapse of many small businesses. Let us not forget that a large number of our people were plunged into abject poverty. We are turning around that miserable situation. Over the last 2 years and 4 months, we have grown our country's economy by 4.25% annually, which exceeds the regional and global averages, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And we have not reached full altitude as yet. Nowhere close to full altitude. And by the way, that claim is not an exaggeration. And I refer you to the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank online statistics for evidence. Within the next 12 to 18 months, Antigua and Barbuda will re-emerge as the largest economy in the OECS, a place we proudly held until the former government superintended our nation's decline. Since coming into office, we have created in excess of 3,000 jobs. 3,000 jobs in 2 years, reducing unemployment significantly. The proof of the number of jobs is measured by the number of additional contributors to the Social Security and medical benefit schemes. Within the next 2 years, we will create a further 5,000 jobs as follows. Expert Global Solutions, a call center at Coolidge, will immediately employ 150 individuals at $440 EC weekly, and a further 500 jobs will go on their payroll in 2017. They will also partner with Amazon, a publicly traded conglomerate, and our government to construct a new training facility at the Five Islands campus. The US $25 million investment by Call Center Services in a new multi-story facility at Woods will create another 800 jobs. Construction of this facility has commenced, and up to 150 construction jobs are available. Within the next few weeks, housing construction at Payneton's and Cook's housing sites will be scaled up, causing openings for new employment. In 2017, my government will spend in excess of $100 million in the repair and expansion of our decrepit roads, our curbs and drains, including in the nation's capital where the infrastructure is dilapidated and unwholesome. This program will also generate a few hundred jobs. Additionally, several thousand jobs will be created from new hotel investment projects, including the $100 million United States Valley Church Resort, in which our government will be investing up to $30 million. 30 million United States dollars. Mindful that the building of an economic powerhouse needs educated people as much as physical infrastructure, my government has expended in excess of $20 million annually in scholarships to educate our youth. We just added a number of new classrooms to the secondary school plant. These classrooms will accommodate an additional 1,000 students at a cost of approximately $15 million. A further $14 million will be spent to renovate and extend the existing school plant. And another $15 million has been allocated to construct a new secondary school at Tomlinson's. Significant progress has also been made in the establishment of the university campus at Five Islands. In addition, my government has invested $30 million United States dollars to repair and expand the Heritage Key Pier, and to dredge the area around the pier to accommodate the larger Quantum-class ships in December of 2016. Now, to meet all these costs, government has to generate new revenues, particularly as we kept our pledge to abolish personal income tax. We believe that was and is the right thing to do, and we are witnessing its benefits in increased savings in the banks and certainly an increase in spending that is helping to grow the economy. However, we would like to encourage increased domestic investments and lending to fueling more robust economic growth and development. My government continues to incentivize investments with very generous concessions, including land at a development price of $3 per square foot. I urge my countrymen and countrywomen to seize these opportunities. In seeking new non-taxable ways of earning additional revenues, my government, as a major shareholder in Western Oil Company, has joined in the decision to partner with the Shell Oil Company to create a new bunkering industry. WEOC is expected to net $5 million during the next financial year from this new business unit. This will bring in increased taxes and certainly dividends to the government, These are the innovative ways in which we are already building an economic powerhouse without burdening you with additional taxes. In pursuit of that strategy, my government has incorporated the National Assets Management Company Limited, NAMCO, in which all of its private sector business assets will be held. I am aware that this arrangement is already being attacked by a failed political party that pushed this nation into economic and social decline. And unfortunately, they are being assisted by others to include those who would tear down anything in which they are not personally involved or from which they get no personal benefit. Self-over nation is the philosophy that drives their motivation. But they fail to understand that to grow in an economy, they must first grow the economy, and that they must contribute to that growth. If the economy perishes, then surely so will they. That is why my government has created a special purpose investment vehicle, NAMCO. I intend over the coming weeks to speak more deeply and broadly about NAMCO to dispel the false and misleading notions being spread about it. Suffice for me to say now that NAMCO will be the repository of the government's shares in all the private sector ventures in which it has invested. These include West Indies Oil Company, Eastern Caribbean Amalgamated Bank, Caribbean Union Bank, State Insurance Corporation, Jolly Beach Resort, Valley Beach Resort, Sangwin Royalton Resort, Callaloo Cay Resort, Cedar Valley Golf Course, Lewin Paints, and all future investments the government makes. It should be noted that no funds were appropriated from the Consolidated Fund. I repeat, no funds were appropriated from the Consolidated Fund by my government to finance any of these investments, and that all of these firms operate independent of the government. The intention is to create a financially strong and viable company whose income will come from the dividends of these partnerships with private sector run companies. The objective is to provide the nation with a well-endowed company, which we intend to list on the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange, that can pursue large-scale investments that are beyond the scope of any single public or private sector entity at this time. NAMCO will create investment opportunities, employment, and revenues without taxing the citizens of our country. It will be a net contributor to the Consolidated Fund through the payment of taxes and dividend. NAMCO is entrepreneurial socialism in practice. It facilitates private-public partnerships, which exploits the efficiencies and corporate governance of the private sector, and it also ensures the further socialization of profits through the payment of dividends to the Consolidated Fund for the benefit of the masses. NAMCO will be a pillar in the development of our economy and certainly will help us to transform our country into an economic powerhouse and to preserve our country's independence and the freedom all our citizens now enjoy. So, my fellow citizens, on this 35th anniversary of our nation's independence, and as we look to the future, I urge you to reflect on this simple truth. Our nation is not only defined by its physical borders. It is defined by our people who share a common history of struggle for freedom. It is defined by a commitment to maintaining our freedom in a land that we love and which we will bequeath to future generations. It is defined by a shared vision of one people with a common destiny, working together to build an economic powerhouse. The road to an economic powerhouse will not be easy. It will be filled with obstacles and failure. But we must remain unflinching in our resolve and focused in our actions as we work relentlessly toward achievement of our vision. So let us march on in faithful solidarity in building an economic powerhouse together. We have much to gain from our solidarity and our faith in ourselves as a nation. Happy independence. God bless you, and God bless Antigua and Barbuda. I thank you.